welcome back from the break. I hope you all enjoyed the posters outside. My name is Jacob, like you said, and I will be presenting the effects of fish color on the school. Previous studies on the zebrafish, this fish over here, has shown that there is a preference for specific color patterns during early development. And these fish generally prefer to school with fish that has the same color as the ones they were raised with, or juvenile schoolmates. And these preferences may influence ecology and social behaviors, such as when they're picking a mate and just settling down. However, in another study, they found that there was no discrimination by normal wild-type zebrafish when presented with both wild-type schools and bred blowfish. For our experiment, we purchased the fish from the local aquarium, so we have no knowledge of whether they were born and raised together. So we were going to test if our zebrafish have a preference to school with fish of similar color to them. The fish that we use are wild-type zebrafish, and these are generally found in India in the major river streams. And we use the genetically modified glowfish, and they're called glowfish because they have bright fluorescent colors such as red, green, orange, and yellow. Our fish were fed tetramin tropical flakes once a week, or once a day, 5 times a week. And at the beginning of our experiment, we had 40 wild-type zebrafish contained in a 40-gallon aquarium. And then we had 5 glowfish in a 5-gallon aquarium, so it was pretty much 1 fish per gallon. For our setup, we used just a standard 10-gallon aquarium, and we had it divided into 3 sections: a left section, a middle section, and a right section. And they were divided off by plexiglass. The left and right sides were the same size, and in the middle we had a visual line so we could divide the middle chamber into left and right sides. We started off by putting 5 glowfish on one side, 5 wild-type in the next side, and placed 1 wild-type zebrafish in the center. The fish in the center was able to swim around the tank for 300 seconds, and while it swam, record the amount of time it spent near the wild-type school. And the line was just the line that designates the side of the stable. In our next setup, we use a mixed school, which is just 2 glowfish and 3 zebrafish, and then the standard school of wild-type. And then we only had this same fish in the center. And we let it swim around for 300 seconds again and record the amount of time it spent near the school. For our null hypothesis, it was that the mean amount of time spent near the wild-type school is not greater than 150 seconds. Basically, there's no preference between either school. And our alternative hypothesis is that the mean amount of time spent near the wild-type school is greater than 150 seconds, meaning there is a preference. And to compare it to, we use a 1-tailed t-test with a significance value of 5%. These are the results from our all glowfish versus the wild-type school experiment. As you can see there, the mean amount of time spent near the wild-type school is significantly greater than the 150 seconds, which is half the time we allowed it to swim. And you can compare that to the glowfish school. Our next chart's for the mixed school versus wild-type. And the mean average for the time spent near the wild-type school was once again significantly greater than 150 seconds. Just not as much as this for the whole glowfish. So basically, we found that our fish, there was a preference to school with fish of similar color. And our results were opposite that of Nexter et al., who in a silver experiment found that there was no preference between schools. Future research we're planning on doing is just perform similarly structured experiments using more fish. That way so we can gather more data and our data is more valuable. I'd like to thank my biology 1402 classmates. They're the ones who did the experiment, set everything up, gathered the results. Dr. Reinhardt, who came up with the project idea, and his daughter Elizabeth, she ran the preliminary test for this, and then the School of Math and Sciences for giving me this opportunity. Are there any questions?
Short and sweet. Any questions?
you have an equal larger projection of males and females in all of these? Would that skew the test results on all females, low symmetry? Not that we know of. We could probably test that though. Other questions? Yes.
You said it was a plexiglass barrier between them, so there was no water communication at all. It was just purely visual. How many times did you do it?
Got an even number of times, so I'm not quite sure.
So it was, go back to your results slide, it shows the sample sizes. For the anglerfish was 32 different fish trials, and then in the big school experiment there were 24 different fish in trial.
So the experiment was done a bunch of times with 5 fish. Yes.
Were you putting the same one in every time?
We switched to the middle fish, though, so there was no bias.
When you made this, did you take into account all of our notes on how the fish actually acted, or just the actual time?
We just did the actual times. We took out a few numbers just because the fish stayed on one side most of, some fish stayed on one side the entire time. So we're thinking it might not have been exposed to the other side, maybe.
You made a reference to another paper. Did they do basically the same thing that you did?
Yes.
So did you model yours after that, or you just found it? Or after the fact?
It was found kind of in the process of all of this, which would have already got the design idea going. And kind of going back to Dr. Reinhardt's question with the sex or gender, that experiment they did know the sex of the fish that they were using in the experiment when they found no preference. So, and they used an equal number of sexes. So, not really sure why we got something different. The one we have a small sample size, smaller number of fish to begin with. But beyond that, it's pretty much exactly the opposite of what was found in this work.
In the previous work, did the wild type zebrafish have exposure to the glowfish? Yes. Both ahead of time? So did they grow up with one another? Did they swim around? Or was, in these experiments, the first time a lot of them saw glowfish was in this experiment? Do you know about the other study? No.
I think they were raised together.
That would make sense.
Hopefully. Any other questions? You're off. Okay, so we're going to try to keep our schedule in case folks come to see a particular person. We've got about, according to my clock, we have